Imagine you are standing on the shore of a vast ocean, waves gently crashing, the sky stretching above, and your own trembling reflection shimmering in the water. You wonder, who created the ocean? Who controls the waves? Now imagine someone says to you, the question is not who created the ocean, but how you will navigate its storms. In a sense, that is precisely the bold proposal Buddhism offers us. It shifts the focus from asking who is God to how can we end suffering. What if the spiritual path you follow did not depend on belief in Creator, but instead rested entirely on your own heart, mind, and awareness? Would that feel liberating or strange? Both controversial and powerful. Let me guide you through this journey. 1. What Buddhism means and does not mean when it speaks of God. Most religions teach a single, all-powerful creator, one who designed the universe, wrote moral law, and judges souls. Buddhism, in its earliest teachings, does not address that idea. The Buddha almost never taught about a creator existing outside time and space, wielding ultimate control. Quoting the Buddhist scholar Nyanaponika Thera, Buddhism is atheistic only in the sense that it rejects belief in an eternal, omnipotent God who creates and judges all things. But this does not mean Buddhism denies the existence of supernatural beings. There are devas, bodhisattvas, gods, but they are part of the conditioned universe, not an unconditioned creator. Thus, unlike many theistic religions, Buddhism is not centered on worshiping God or relying on divine intervention. Instead, it focuses on human effort, understanding, and transformation. 2. Karma, rebirth, non-self, becoming without a creator. One of Buddhism's core teachings is karma, the idea that our intentional actions, good or bad, have consequences. But no deity keeps record or calculates outcomes. Rather, actions ripple through conditions. If you plant seeds of kindness, the world may reflect kindness back. If you act out of greed or ignorance, suffering follows. Rebirth. Buddhism holds that life is not just once, but many times. Yet again, no God lifts the veil. The process unfolds naturally through causes. Like seeds, some sprout, others wither. And the sense of self? Impermanent. Shifting. The doctrine of anatta, non-self, teaches that what we call I is just a stream of mental and physical events, not a permanent entity. 3. Meditation and direct experience. This is where Buddhist practice deepens. Teachings are not metaphors to memorize like exam notes. They are tools to be tested in meditation, in mindfulness, in moments of suffering and joy. When you sit quietly, observing breath, thoughts, sensations, you begin to see impermanence, how thoughts arise and pass, how craving fuels anxiety, how letting go brings peace. This direct seeing weakens the belief that you need an external power. Peace can be found within. For why the Buddha avoided speculation? Curiously, in early teachings, when asked metaphysical questions like, is the universe eternal? Or does the self exist forever? The Buddha often remained silent, or said such questions were not useful for ending suffering. Speculation about God or origins distracts from what matters. Overcoming dukkha, suffering, cultivating right view, right action. 5. Traditions, variations, and sacred symbols. The picture is not uniform. Some Buddhist traditions include devotional practices. For example, Pure Land Buddhism, belief in the pure land of Amitabha Buddha, a realm where one can be reborn. Faith in Amitabha's vow plays a role. Yet even here, Amitabha is not viewed as an almighty creator. His role is more like a guide, a teacher, or a compassionate force to rely on in practice. Tibetan deity yoga. Practitioners visualize deities or bodhisattvas, not to worship supreme creator, but because these figures embody enlightened qualities. They serve as skillful means of paya, for cultivating compassion, wisdom, and transformation. These variations show how Buddhism adapts, using sacred imagery when helpful, but never making a deity the center of salvation or cosmic order. 2 stories to bring the idea to life. Story A, the monk and the starving man. In an ancient Indian monastery, a monk saw a starving man. He could pray for a deity to help, but instead, he offered food, water, shelter. In meditation, he realized compassion and action mattered more than pleading to the divine. By giving what he had, he eased suffering. This encounter taught him the truth of karma and compassion. Not speculation about God's will, but a response from within. Story B, The Retreat and the Illusion of Self. A modern meditation teacher welcomed a student raised in Christianity. Over days of sitting, she observed her thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations. One session, fear arose. She clung to the thought, I am afraid. Then she let it dissolve. She realized the self was not as solid as she thought. No God intervened. No savior erased her fear. Her liberation came from understanding and release. That shift from anxiety to calm was born from insight, not divine rescue. These stories show you don't need a creator to spark transformation. What you need is practice, awareness, and the courage to face truth. Why this approach is empowering. Buddhism says, your suffering is not someone else's responsibility to fix. The solution is not waiting for God's grace, but acting with mindfulness. In pluralistic societies with modern scientific awareness, Buddhism's non-theistic stance resonates. When faced with demands for proof of God, mysterious doctrines, or dogma, many find Buddhism aligns better with critical perspectives. If we instead apply Buddhist insight, suffering arises from greed, ignorance, clinging from the self. Liberation means inner transformation, self-understanding, wisdom. Morality in Buddhism does not rest on divine command. It rests on wisdom. What increases well-being versus what causes harm? This makes ethics more stable. Key lessons to carry. Truth must be experienced. Don't simply accept teachings about gods or no gods. Test them in meditation, self-reflection, ethical action. Look within. Liberation does not come from appealing to an outside savior, but from developing compassion, wisdom, and letting go of attachment. Sometimes the divine is what awakens inside us, not what we worship outside. The self is impermanent. Recognize that your sense of I is flexible, ever-changing. Clinging to a fixed self is the root of suffering. Seeing impermanence loosens suffering's grip. Ethics without divine law. You don't need God to be moral. Understanding cause and effect. Seeing suffering in yourself and others. Cultivating compassion. These form a foundation of Buddhist ethics. Grace and symbolism over literalism. Be open to symbols and devotional practices when they inspire, but see them as skillful means, not absolute truths. Balance wonder with doubt. Questioning God, origins, and meaning is natural. But Buddhism holds such questions are useful only if they help us grow in peace and wisdom. Guard against speculative thinking that distracts the mind. Subscribe to Dharma Lotus Stories for more soul-nourishing reflections. Remember, the deepest truths are not hidden in scriptures or screens, but in the silence of your own awareness. Keep exploring, keep practicing, and trust the unfolding wisdom within you. Stay open, stay kind, and I'll meet you again on the next step of this journey.